Welcome to the Using Your Mind for a Change series of interviews with experts who know all about the mind and how we can tap into its extraordinary powers, in this instance, to help you lose weight and make that quest a lot easier for you. Hi, my name is Jean Natray. I'm your host and weight loss expert. And I'm joined today with Glenn Harrold. He's a very renowned hypnotherapist, and he has been an author of 7 books, and I understand he's going to be writing 2 more this year. Glenn is also a musician, an experienced clinical hypnotherapist who has helped thousands of clients over a wide range of stress-related issues. And he sold over 8 million hypnotherapy or meditation recordings. So welcome, Glenn Harrold. I'm so glad that you're joining us today for this interview so we can learn some things about what we can do to make it easier to lose weight. So
that's the plan.
Yes. So why don't you start by telling us how you got into this business of hypnotherapy?
Okay, well, many years ago, I was a musician playing on the club circuit in and around South London. Before that, I'd played in bands in my younger life and had a brief taste of fame and fortune in a band called the Sugar Ray 5. We won a national pop competition in the UK in 1983. And it was like the X Factor of its day. It was a big competition. You know, we won it at Hammersmith Apollo. It was live on the BBC, and we won lots of money, and it was all very exciting at the time. But the fame and fortune came and went like Halley's Comet, and the band didn't last. So, you know, it took me a while to kind of get back into normal life after having a taste of that kind of success at such a young age, and it was very brief. But I found it difficult then to go and work on a building site or to have a regular job. So years later, I was playing on the cabaret circuit. I was playing the guitar and in a duo. And one day we shared the bill with the stage hypnotist. And it was watching this guy manipulate the audience from backstage that really sparked my interest in hypnosis. And I didn't want to do the stage hypnotist thing because I wasn't drawn to that side of it. I saw in that a tool to use hypnosis for changing patterns of behavior. And because I had a very dysfunctional, crazy childhood, I grew up in a very violent and crazy home. I had a lot of dysfunction, and that I struggled to succeed in life, in relationships, you know, career, money. You know, in many different ways in my younger life, I struggled. So I was looking to try and fix that. And in hypnotherapy, that was the road out. That got me out of the failure programming that I was running on from my childhood. So that was kind of the turning point in my life that started to open a few new doors.
Wow, excellent. Well, it sounds like you're in a really good place now.
It's a lot better than it was then.
And you've been helping a lot of people. That must be very satisfying to be helping a lot of people.
Yeah, well, I think the thing for me was that when I started to fix a lot of my own addictions, negative patterns of behavior that I'd carried from my childhood, because in my teens, you know, I was smoking heavily. I was, you know, eating rubbish food, junk food. I was taking drugs. I was kind of completely off the rails. I was, you know, and I hit some low points, pretty much as low as you can get. So I knew what it was to be kind of in the gutter, if you like, metaphorically speaking.
Wow.
I knew what it was to be down there. So when I had these tools that could fix that kind of programming that gets you into those places, and I used them on myself, and I started to change. I stopped smoking. I stopped drinking. I started to get healthier. I started to meditate regularly. I started to work on my physical body. And I started to change. Everything around me started to change. I'd meet, you know, more positive people. I'd find myself in, you know, great situations. And slowly but surely, I started to become more abundant. I started to have a few of the things that I wanted in life. And it was a gradual process, but that momentum just got bigger and bigger. And, till I ended up writing 7 books for major publishers and, doing amazing things that I could never imagine back in my younger life. So, I've become very good at teaching other people and showing other people the way out of those, destructive habits that hold people in a prison. And
Sure.
that's it. I love doing that. I love helping people.
That's so great. Well, I think that's an appropriate question to ask you, how does hypnotism work?
So it works it works differently on every individual. And they say that, some people are somnambulists and they go into very, very deep trances very quickly. They say 20% of the population respond to that kind of deep hypnosis. And they tend to be the ones you see on the stage shows. The 6 people that are, been pulled out of the audience to act out crazy suggestions. 40% of people go into medium depth trances, and maybe 20% struggle to go into very deep trances at all. But the thing with hypnosis and changing patterns of behavior is that you don't always need to go into a deep trance. It's more about responding to the suggestion. So as a therapist, I learned very quickly to tune in to my clients, because you can have 10 clients for a weight loss issue. They can all want to lose weight, but every one of them will respond differently to the therapeutic techniques that I deliver. So I'd always tailor the sessions to the individual and kind of understand what made them tick, what was their motivation, and work from the inside out. And I think that's probably my sort of USP. I was good at tuning into people, and I love doing that. Finding that person's motivation and firing them up so that they are going to transform their life. Whatever hole they're stuck in, they are going to, it's going to end. They're going to move into a new direction and change their life.
So, how does that work? I mean, I don't quite understand how it works in practical terms by changing our awareness or our consciousness or our thoughts or what goes on.
Yeah, to answer your question a bit clearer about hypnosis, a good analogy is if you think of an iceberg and you think of the 10% above the surface, that's very much the analogy for the conscious mind. So if you think the way we're communicating now is very much in our awakened, alert state, in our conscious mind. But if you think of the 90% below the surface, that's the unconscious mind. And that's where we access our dreams, and our creativity resides there. And it's the place where we've literally got superhuman potential when we go into that, that state of consciousness where we're accessing our creativity and our inner strength and our inner power, our inner genius. And we've all got that. Everyone's got that incredible potential. And we're the only species on the planet that uses all of our brains all of the time. So we've got this massive resource beneath the surface that we have to focus on it to access it. And you focus on it through hypnosis or meditation. And the way to do that is, if you think of the conscious mind again, you have to quieten that down. So you have to subdue the mental chatter, the monkey mind. You quieten that down, you stop thinking, and then you access the unconscious mind. You drop into that naturally. And that's a very, very powerful place to be, when you can go into that part of your mind and start to change patterns of behavior, change thought processes, and start to replace those old thought processes with new ones. It's so powerful. And really that's what pulled me out of the hole that I was in. I literally reprogrammed myself from the inside out to create success and abundance in my life, because I had so much failure conditioning. I was kicked out of school when I was 15. I was told I was the worst kid they had in the school for 10 years.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I kind of believed it. You run on that. You know, if
Yeah.
you're told that enough, and I got that at home, I got it at school. It was a double whammy. So I kind of believed that, and so naturally, I never set the adult world on fire when I went out there because I had all of this conditioning that I believed was true, kind of on an unconscious level. You know, I had a bit of bravado going on at times, but deep down, I was very fragile, and it was really the ability, you know, once I found the tool of hypnotherapy that I could use myself to change those belief patterns, the world changed. My external world changed because I was resonating on a different frequency. I was, you know, attracting different people to me, and I had a different belief system.
Yeah, would you say more about that? Because that is so fascinating. I mean, a lot of us have heard, what you believe is what you're going to see, and you won't see it until you believe it, kind of thing. So how does that work? Is that just a different frequency of our
Yeah,
mind that helps to attract the things that we want?
yeah, yeah. You know, it's been proven scientifically that our thoughts can affect external matter. You know, and I don't understand, I'm not going to pretend to understand quantum physics, but it's been proven in quantum physics that you can, uh, atoms and molecules will respond through observation. So by you observing them, they will change. They will react to
Yeah.
that, and that's the, you know. So the everything in the world's made up of atoms and molecules. You know, this desk I'm sitting in front of is made up of atoms and molecules that vibrate together. So our thoughts and our beliefs affect everything around us. And for me, once I understood that, I started to meditate on changing my external world, you know, into a very positive place. So through going into meditation and when I studied it, when I got it, when I really understood it, I used to meditate every day for like an hour. And I always use the analogy that if you wanted to create a really great physical body, you go to the gym 3 or 4 times a week, or you'd work out, and it would happen. You know, you over time you tone up and you'd look fantastic. And the mind is the same. If you work on it regularly, it becomes a very powerful force, and you can start to manifest things very quickly and easily. And And so for me, I was, you know, when I suddenly found this after years of struggle and, you know, being in very difficult, dark places, I immersed myself in it. And I used to meditate literally for an hour a day. And my partner at the time, she would say to me that when I would meditate like that, the bed would actually vibrate because I got so deep into it. And
Wow.
I couldn't feel that, but she could feel the bed vibrating. And that was something, it wasn't a physical thing so much, it was the energy that I was projecting out from it.
Oh,
And I
wow.
would literally, you know, be meditating for an hour a day. I'd be doing affirmations that I'm always in the right place at the right time. Abundance comes freely and naturally to me. And I became this, you know, real force for change and transformation. And, you know, I was hungry for it. I think that was the key thing. And I think if you want to lose weight, or you want to, you know, achieve abundance in your life, or whatever you want to do, you've got to be really fired up. You've got to get that fire in your belly, and, you know, imagine yourself the person that you want to be, the shape and size you want to be, you know, how you want to be in this world. And then, you know, you amplify that in your unconscious mind. You know, you really build that and resonate, so every part of you is congruent with this new belief. And for me, that's what I did. And I just, you know, I just worked at it and worked at it. And I've created a life that, you know, is something that I couldn't have dreamed of back then. It would have seemed so far away. That, you know, I live in a beautiful part of the world that I always wanted to live in. I've got, you know, freedom to do what I want. I've got a lovely family, lots of love, lots of happiness, lots of abundance. And, you know, it was totally the opposite to 25 years ago. And
Wow.
it's a matter of just working on it.
That's really inspiring. That's very
Thank you.
inspiring. And I know you've inspired thousands of other people. Now, I have a couple of questions. One is about a vision board. So it's real simple. You just find an image of, in this case, maybe how you want your body to look when
Mm,
you've lost weight. And maybe you stick it on your bathroom mirror and you just see it. You
mm,
just like glance at it in your regular conscious awareness state. And
mm,
is that helpful at all? And as well, if you'd also talk with us about affirmations, just
mm.
like sticking some words on that bathroom mirror as well.
Yeah, I think it is. If the first thing to do is think about your ideal target weight. So what's your target weight? Really crystallize that in your mind, and make it realistic, but something that you want to achieve. You can achieve it if you're focused and you work on it. So clarify that first of all, and then secondly, set a time frame. So think of that ideal target weight. You know, are you going to realistically achieve that in 6 months, or is it going to be a year? And think of it as a journey. There's no, the fast, faddy weight loss things never work,
Right.
because your mind doesn't always catch up with the external image. So if you lose weight too quickly, it can sometimes be detrimental, and you go on this yo-yo thing, where your weight's up and down. So think of this as a holistic journey where you're moving into a brand new healthy lifestyle that's going to create the physique, the weight, the target weight that you want to achieve, and the physique you want. And it really is a holistic journey. So you're going to achieve that by eating healthily, by becoming more active, by moving, and but enjoying the process. The real beauty of hypnotherapy is that you can enjoy that. With a lot of diets and a lot of weight loss regimes, it can be a struggle. And people associate dieting with struggle, whereas it really doesn't have to be that. It can be a really enjoyable process. Um, so yeah, that's the first thing to do. So then what I would do is the recording that I'm going to send to you that you can pass on to your listeners or your viewers is to do with losing weight, and it's a 25-minute recording that will take you into a very deep, relaxed state where you can visualize yourself at your target weight. So when you do that, in that state of deep relaxation, and you see yourself looking as you want to look, and you can actually imagine that you're looking out through your own eyes, you're really there now, because the mind doesn't distinguish between what's real and imagined.
Right.
So when you're looking out through your own eyes and you're feeling it, your mind will believe that you're there now. And what you're doing, you're anchoring a very powerful image and feeling in your unconscious mind that you will naturally respond to when you're out and about. And people are always saying to me that they go to the supermarket, the store, and they don't have any inclination to buy the junk food that has been their weakness, because their mind is resonating to a new program. There's a new belief in there, and those things don't matter anymore. You change your habits very easily that way, because you're working on a deep level.
Well, that must be very liberating, not to
Yeah.
be constantly called by junk food and the unhealthy foods and the foods that we habitually eat that are not good for us. So it
Mm.
must be very liberating. So
Yeah.
I have a question about meditation. Now, how is this different or the same as meditation?
Well, hypnosis and hypnotherapy tends to be more goal orientated. So for weight loss, for example, hypnotherapy, self-hypnosis is a very good tool for achieving your weight loss goals. Meditation tends to be more visual, more kinesthetic, and it can be just a place that you go to where you're experience a feeling of deep relaxation, not necessarily for a goal, just for the feeling of being in a relaxed state. But really, the two processes, if you could measure the brain waves on an ECG machine, is it? If you measured brain waves on those machines when somebody was using self-hypnosis or someone was meditating, they would be the same. It's pretty much the same process, but you're going into 90% of the iceberg. You're
Mhm.
dropping down into that state.
Mhm.
You're not thinking, you're not chattering. You're going into that state and you're planting these powerful new beliefs in your unconscious mind.
Mhm.
And once you really anchor them in there, you will respond differently. When you're out and about, it's so easy to say no to chocolate, to the sweet, sickly, fattening foods. It's easy to do that because you've got these new programs that are that are controlling you,
Mm.
rather than the old programs that are controlling you, that are craving the sweet stuff
Right.
or whatever it is. And sometimes with one-to-one clients, it can be that they need a little bit of a deeper session, because sometimes I've had clients that have their conditioning came from their childhood, where they were always taught to clear the plate, or they were taught that the treat afterwards, the chocolate or the cake afterwards, is a really big treat, a really big surprise. And one client session comes to mind, a well-known celebrity in the UK called Andrea McLean. I hypnotized her it was for a magazine and a TV show, so I can talk about it freely. She was addicted to chocolate, and every single day she'd eat a full bar of chocolate. And she actually looked pretty good considering she was a TV presenter, but she wanted to get rid of this habit. And I kind of sensed that it was more than just saying that you don't like chocolate, and changing one pattern for another one. Something told me that there was another thing that was behind it. And so I did a regression thing on her that took her back into her childhood. And as it turned out, she uncovered this story where her and her sister would be hunting for chocolate that her father had hidden around the house. And when they found the chocolate, they'd have this eureka moment where it was very exciting, and it was also forbidden. So she couldn't just eat it. They had to go to their father. And it was all this stuff that was kind of buried in her unconscious mind. And so that point, I knew I'd got to the very heart of why she was so addicted to chocolate. And so I broke that connection, a number of suggestions and visualizations and feelings that we changed to do with that association. And then we moved it forward a bit so that was no longer an issue. And then I worked on an aversion thing where I got her to visualize chocolate mixed up with rotting fish. And it's called an aversion technique, where somebody visualizes the chocolate and they actually get to smell the rotting fish and they associate it with chocolate. And the session was in my publisher's office in London, and it was like 45 minutes. A week later, she phoned me up and said, I don't know what's happened. She said, I feel terrible. So I'm feeling absolutely awful. And I said, well, how are you getting on with the chocolate? She said, well, I haven't touched any chocolate, but I feel terrible. What have you done to me? And I said, well, you've been eating a bar of chocolate every day of your life since you were a kid. You're detoxing big time.
Oh, wow.
So she was going through this cold turkey thing where she was suddenly not reliant on that sugar hit every day, and it was making her feel really bad. But she had no compulsion to eat chocolate anymore. It'd gone. And I
Wow.
met her at a photo shoot about 2 months later, and she said that it got to the point where even if she saw chocolate on the television, she kind of had this sort of gag reflex that would come up.
Wow. That's amazing.
It was a very, very powerful session. And, sometimes you can have those sessions where you transform a lifelong pattern of behavior instantly in 45 minutes.
Wow.
And that was a good example of that. But anyone can do that. You can get rid of those old patterns of behavior. You don't have to stay stuck with them. But what I was trying to say at the beginning, there's always a number of reasons why people get stuck in those habits. And sometimes it's just merely that they love chocolate. They get a taste for it, or sweets or sugar or whatever it is, and they can't stop. And it gets worse over time, because a lot of those kind of foods are addictive. They have elements in them that are addictive. So that can be, that's normally the case, but sometimes there are deeper rooted issues that are driving it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always good to know yourself and to be really mindful of where it comes from. And that's the starting point.
Well, what I love about hypnosis is that we can actually bring about deliberate thoughts or be influenced by people such as you, willingly influenced, obviously, to change our thoughts and like you were saying, you change your beliefs and you change maybe some experiences that you had or your recollection of them, and they're no longer powerful.
Mm.
So it's pretty amazing. How long has hypnosis been around and utilized? Do you have any idea?
Yeah, I mean, it's been around, for thousands of years.
Okay.
If you go back into, the ancient Greeks, the Egyptians, they used forms of hypnosis, um, and meditation was commonly used back then. I think Mesmer was the first, one of, I think a couple of 100 years ago, Mesmer used to use magnets in a stage show that to hypnotize people in the audience. And so the word mesmerism comes from that. He was one of the first, first founders of modern hypnosis, if you like. And
Right.
then there was obviously Freud at the turn of the last century,
Right.
who actually wasn't a very good hypnotist. He was a good psychoanalyst, but he was not a very good hypnotist. So he kind of didn't believe it. And Jung took it on, and
Hmm.
Jung kind of was a very powerful hypnotherapist or hypnotist because he kind of understood the unconscious a lot more. He took the theory of how the unconscious works a lot further forward, and how that we're all linked. How we are the collective unconscious. How we can tune into other people from distances, and that's been proven in the animal kingdom, where animals have been taught a certain skill in one location, and once they've mastered that skill, animals in another remote location, not
Yeah.
connected,
Yeah.
can also use that skill.
Right.
So the collective unconscious seems to run through every species.
Wow.
um,
Interesting.
yeah, Jung was quite an amazing guy.
He was. He was. And I understand we didn't talk about this before we started recording, but do you use the solfeggio rhythms or beats in your?
Frequency.
Yeah.
Yeah. The solfeggio frequencies are six major tones that resonate to a certain frequency, and each frequency has its own properties. They have their own elements and their own properties. And it was found that in ancient times, Gregorian monks used to chant to each one of these frequencies to change certain patterns of behavior.
Hmm.
And yeah, so the first one is 396 hertz, and that's very good for purging yourself of guilt and fear,
Hmm.
which is pretty powerful. Consider we've all got elements of that running through us.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Mm-hmm.
especially in this day and age, the world is an amazing place. We live in an incredible age where information moves around so quickly, and we've got opportunities. But there's also a lot of chaos and a lot of uncertainty and a lot of fear in the world. So yeah, that's a really good one. 396 hertz is a powerful frequency. So when I learned about the solfeggio tones, I wanted to make recordings, meditations based on those tones. So I wanted to use the frequency as the music backbeat, and then create a meditation over the top that related to the frequency. So in the case of the 396 hertz, it was about releasing guilt and fear. And a friend of mine at the time, a guy called Ali Calderwood, is a very brilliant musician, very talented musician. And I co-authored the series with him. He created the frequency, and the music he makes is very alive. It sounds like 3D, even though it's not. It's 2D stereo music, but it sounds 3D. It kind of moves. But it was all built on the one frequency. And together we scripted some meditations, and I recorded the meditations, and we put it all together. And so you've got the combination of the actual solfeggio frequency Ali's music and my meditation. And
Mhm.
the three work really well together. And, we've had some amazing feedback on that series. We even had
Wow.
the guy, Dr. Len Horowitz in the States.
Oh, really? I used to follow him a lot. I
Did
haven't heard
you?
from him lately.
Well, he got in
Yeah.
touch. He got in touch and said that he really liked what we'd done, and he, along with I can't remember the gentleman's name, but it was Doctor. It might have been Dr. Weiss. They kind of between them rediscovered the solfeggio tones, and they
Mm.
wrote a book on it, and it kind of popularized it again. But Dr. Len Horowitz, yeah, wrote to me and said that these are authentic. That you've got the frequencies spot on,
Mm.
and he actually sells the CDs on his website. So that
Mhm.
was, that was the ultimate endorsement that we got the series right.
Excellent. Excellent. All right, we're about to wrap this up, Glenn. So why don't you tell us about the gifts that you're offering? You mentioned one a little bit, but if you'd go over those again, let's talk about that.
So I've got two gifts. The first one is the MP3 recording, which is something you can use when you've got 25 minutes to spare. And what I'd suggest is laying down, putting headphones on, no phones, maybe in a darkened room where you're not going to be disturbed. And just listen to the recording and let it kind of wash over you. And when you hear the suggestions, when you get into that deeply relaxed state, really absorb the suggestions, take them on board and visualize and feel that you're this, fit, healthy person. You're gonna feel great. And you're on this new path where you're into healthy eating and exercising, and you're finding new ways to do that. And I always say, people think of the gym, it seems it can be like hard work. Some people love that. Some people love going to the gym, but you've got to find things that you enjoy doing. So if it might be dancing, if you like dancing, go to dance classes and move your body, get active. If you like badminton, or for me, I love playing tennis. And I play tennis like against guys 30 years younger than me. And I love 3 hours on a tennis court, pouring with sweat in the Spanish sun. Come off feeling tired, but feeling great.
Mhm.
It's such a great workout. And here in Spain, because it's an outdoor lifestyle, I walk a lot, but I love it. I love walking. So embrace the things that you love doing and build them into this new lifestyle. And so when you're in that relaxed state, when you go into that state of hypnosis, really resonate with these things and, build a love for doing them. Start to do that, because love's a very powerful force. And if you project that into your affirmations and your goals, it kind of supercharges them. And and with the healthy eating thing, that starts to become more and more natural. I myself, 20, 30 years ago, I used to eat at McDonald's and I used to eat junk food and could never understand why I got 6 colds a year and why I was always under the weather. Now I've gone from that to I became vegetarian 20 years ago. I'm vegan now. And I go on raw food sort of detoxes, and I love it. I love that journey because sometimes it's hard. It's not always easy, but you can go on those detoxes and you come out the other end and you feel so good. You feel lighter. And that's always the benefit. If it works for you and you feel good on it, do more of it. We're all different. We're all got a different metabolism, a different makeup.
Mhm.
Find what works for you, and keep on that path. Keep on the healthy path, because it is so rewarding. It's so rewarding to, as you get older, you don't have to be a slave to the pharmaceutical company or the doctors. I don't know my doctor's name. I haven't seen a doctor for 20 years.
I
But
haven't either.
no, it shouldn't be that way. We should be living in this world optimally healthy.
Yes, yes.
We should be, but it's all these conditioned things that we get stuck in our unconscious mind that we run on. And that's the key. Get rid of them, work
Mhm.
on those on a deep level, and you'll
Mhm.
find that things change on the outer level.
And
And
would
that's
you also say that if you find that you've indulged, a couple times in a couple of days in some really bad food,
mm,
not to beat yourself up about it, not to berate yourself. That's just adding
absolutely.
stress,
None of us are perfect. None
right?
of us are perfect. We're all a work in progress, and there's the 80-20 rule, isn't there? That if 80% of the time you're doing the good stuff, 20% of the time you can have a little bit of guilt-free overindulgence.
Yes.
And I do. Last night with my little boy, we sat and he had some ice cream. It was vegan ice cream, by the way, but it was, we kind of, so every now and again, it doesn't have to be austere, you don't have to really
Yes.
go too far that way. I mean, I know I've got friends that do, who are very, very strict, but for me, it's about getting a nice balance so that you can still enjoy, certain foods at certain times, but it doesn't have to. I think the key is if you start to crave something regularly, then there's something behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what needs work. If now and again you think, oh, I'm going to have an ice cream, or I'm going to have a cake or whatever, and it's now and again, that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's if you're caught up in a cycle of needing something, or you're thinking that you need something and craving it, that's really where hypnosis and hypnotherapy will really help you.
Wow, that's
Will break that.
exciting. I can't
Yeah.
wait to try it myself. And also, I believe you have an ebook for us. Can you tell us a little bit about what's in
There's an
there?
ebook. Yeah, there's 7 golden rules to losing weight, and it's a simple guidebook, but the rules in that are very, very profound and very to the point. And if you follow those guidelines, that you will lose weight and you will get healthy. And it is, like I said, it's a holistic journey. So
Yes.
think of it, you're stepping into a new path, onto a new path.
Yes.
It's going to take you, into this place that is enjoyable. It's an enjoyable road that you can actually get super fit and healthy if you want that,
Mm-hmm.
and you can enjoy it. It become so much fun.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Awesome, awesome. Well, Glenn Harrold, thank you so much for joining us
You're welcome.
in this series. And thank you, viewer, as well. And I'll be signing off for now. And bye for now.